Welcome back to the Tydirium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about why G.I. Joe Classified is just so massively popular from the get-go. A lot of people say it's like Star Wars Black Series, but Star Wars Black Series was more or less dead on arrival, and Hasbro had to revive it and bring it back to life. And even with so many G.I. Joe Classified collectors jumping ship and selling out, there are even more joining in and getting excited about it. So I'm talking to you today about why G.I. Joe Classified is so exciting and why G.I. Joe Classified is so popular. Coming up. Before we get into the G.I. Joe Classified part, today ends the Rancor HasLab, and then tomorrow ends the Sky Striker HasLab. I kind of hope neither one of them fund. That's just the way I feel. I'll make a video on Thursday, but I'll get it on a Sky Striker if it funds, but I kind of hope neither one fund. I'd rather see these at retail for a lower price, made in higher quantities, but that's not how Hasbro thinks anymore, sadly. Okay, so first off, with a quick comparison to the launch of the 2013 Star Wars Black Series. In 2013, the Star Wars Black Series was the first 6-inch Star Wars line that was at retail, and it sat on pegs. Like, I could go in and get any of the figures any day I want from any Walmart, and I finally broke down after weeks, maybe months, looking at R2-D2, and I bought an R2-D2. But it wasn't until years later that I actually picked up the first couple of few waves on clearance at the Disney shop for like $10 a piece, and I didn't even really want them. I picked them up because I knew I could trade them with my friends, but I ended up eventually keeping a set for myself. Fast forward to today, G.I. Joe Classified actually took off from the get-go and just started flying off shelves. For a little while, maybe there was some at retail that were easy to find, but after a while, it started getting real hard to find any hanging on any pegs anywhere on the shelves, and not even in stock at all on online retailers. So the first reason why G.I. Joe is so popular, and the Classified specifically, is because Joe collectors have been starved for a long time to have anything at retail. In fact, you could have put anything out at retail in any scale, and it would have been supported at least by the hardcore collectors, because there hasn't been anything at retail in so long that Joe collectors just want something to buy. See, when they started tapering off the old 3.75-inch line from the 25th anniversary and, whatever they call every subsequent line after that, in different packaging and all that kind of stuff, I think Resolute, then with that, the Collectors Club came along. You had to get a subscription service to even buy a G.I. Joe figure. So you had to subscribe to get these G.I. Joe figures. Some of the subscription service figures would have done really well at retail, but yet we didn't get them at retail. You had to be part of this club here to get them, and I wasn't part of it, so I don't really have any experiences to share other than the fact that these all go for stupid money on the aftermarket. So getting the shot at buying some 6-inch figures or 4-inch figures or anything G.I. Joe was really exciting to a lot of hardcore Joe collectors that have been extremely neglected. The next reason that G.I. Joe Classified is so popular is because of the popularity of the 6-inch scale. So many people have gone in on the 6-inch scale since the early days of the Star Wars Black Series, where people were hesitant to get in on it. Now that's common. Marvel Legends are common, and then DC Universe stuff is 6-inch also. Being able to put your G.I. Joes near maybe a DC Universe collection or your Star Wars collection, or just collecting in that line, you know how good those figures are, how good they can be. And now we want to see that with the G.I. Joe line, and the G.I. Joe line is pretty big. There's a lot of characters, big future ahead. So another reason Classified is so popular is along with the 6-inch line, you have bigger figures, and more of those detail sculpted accessories can become real accessories in the real world. Now, I don't think they've gone as far with this as they're going to in the future, or they possibly could in the future. They actually did a little bit of this in the 3.75-inch line, giving some of the molded-in guns actual real guns and holsters, and all the knives have a place to holster in some of the 3.75-inch. But we should see a lot more of this in the 6-inch scale for Classified. So back when they had bombs, your Ninja Stars should be able to come off. Those kinds of things need to get added to it. I think they will down the road. But where we are right now, they do have plenty of knives that sheathe maybe not very easily, swords that go into their sheaths, and guns that have holsters, and weapon storage for almost everything that comes with the figures. Really awesome. And a lot of people love tons of accessories, to the point they actually buy Battleverse packs to go with these. Now, another reason that people were getting really excited for G.I. Joe Classified and it's so popular, oddly enough, was the same thing that most people seem to complain about. A lot of people liked the different look. They liked how Cobra Commander was an upgraded, different look. It gives it more of a modern, real-world feel. I mean, a lot of people say, well, it's a Fortnite look, but it is more of a modern look, something that people like. Now, I personally want my Joes to look super retro classic, but there's a huge, huge community out there that likes the updated designs. I think they like the extra accents, even the gold accents. Some people like that kind of stuff. Now, I do think that the vast majority of people do not like the Nerf gun accessories. That's something that they put up with. It's exciting, it's popular. We put up with the Nerf guns, but some of those people really like even the shin guards that are gold and the accents and all of the extra added detail that's going into these figures. And now they're going to be more simplified, which I am okay with. So I guess I could see that it can be fun to see updated, modernized versions of classic characters that you love, but still give us that classic. So the next reason that people were getting excited and G.I. Joe Classified was getting popular was the artificial scarcity. Now, this is not exactly caused by Hasbro or exactly caused by Target or exactly caused by scalpers, but it's actually a mix of all three. So with that, figures that normally would have sat on the shelves for a little while were being bought up by scalpers and resold at high prices, and that created an artificial scarcity. On top of that, there wasn't a lot of product coming through. It was more of a test time because Hasbro lived through Star Wars Black Series and everything getting clearanced out, and so they wanted to introduce this without taking a huge financial risk. Nowadays, I think they are putting everything behind it. Everything's getting millions production runs. Instead of like 10,000 or 20,000, they're getting in the millions. And I think it's going to be very easy to get them in the future, and maybe to the point where it floods the market. And that's not bad. That is not bad at all for collectors. But the artificial scarcity we saw for a long time, and everybody blames scalpers for it, well, that actually told Hasbro they're selling really fast. We need to start making more. The next reason G.I. Joe Classified is so popular is simply because G.I. Joe is just so huge. G.I. Joe is one of the biggest properties out there, and you could really just look back on the 80s, and it dominated the 80s. This and Transformers and all of that, but I'd venture to say there is more interest in G.I. Joe than Transformers or Star Wars or anything going on. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with Transformers right now, with the Masterpiece and all of that, and the Legends and the mainline, but G.I. Joe is more appealing to a broader audience, a more variety of collectors than any other property, and I believe it has the power at retail that Marvel has right now. It was really tough to grow up and make it through the 80s without getting at least one G.I. Joe toy or a ton of G.I. Joe toys. It was really hard to make it through the 80s without watching the show. It was really hard to make it through the 80s without seeing tons and tons of G.I. Joe, which is a good thing. G.I. Joe is a great toy line. The vintage toy line did a lot of things, revolutionizing not only the articulation, but the characters were just awesome. And the variety of characters and the variety of different costumes and outfits and the different types of sort of real world types of vehicles that they used, yet they had a bit of a fantasy element to them also. And lastly, there's an excitement about G.I. Joe Classified vehicles. Like, what can they do with these vehicles? How can they make them even better than the vintage counterparts? A lot of the vintage counterpart vehicles, even the smaller ones, or especially the smaller ones, were really, really fragile because they use really small parts. Make them a little bit bigger, make them a little bit stronger, more sturdy, and then make them look even better than the vintage counterparts. I think it was genius of them to make the small vehicles so cool back in the day. Seeing all these small vehicles in a 6-inch scale would be outstanding. It would be awesome. People would love to get this. Collectors are clamoring for this, and people are 3D printing them and making tons of money. Hasbro's losing money on this, And this is something else that gets people excited. G.I. Joe is not just an action figure line, it's also a vehicle line. The possibilities of getting vehicles with the G.I. Joe Classified line is another thing that really gets everyone excited, because no other line really has so many iconic small vehicles that would work with their figures. So you look at Star Wars Black Series, vehicles really don't work there. They're struggling to get a Rancor funded. And then when you look at Marvel Legends, well, there's no vehicles for Marvel Legends for the most part. So with G.I. Joe, it's probably going to be the only line that could be dominating in the vehicle space and make a lot of sense. And with all the great figures coming and Hasbro sort of retconning some of the designs, giving us more classic designs that, yes, I like, and I know some people aren't liking that, but I think the vast majority are going to be okay with it. But with that, there's so much coming that's going to make this exciting, and there's so much more that's going to draw more people in to collect. So let me know what you think about G.I. Joe Classified. Why do you think it's so popular? Why do you think people that even dropped out are still talking about it and interested in it today? Like and subscribe to our Dear Hang Around.